And if ever I forget my true identity, show me who I am and help me to believe you have brought me back with the riches of your amazing grace and relentless love. I'm made alive forever. Well, hey everyone, this is Jairus Withrow at jwithrow.com, and we're going to learn Made Alive today. And it's such a rhythmic song and so awesome that I wanted to bring in a rhythm bongo player here and singer, my singing partner, Fanci Collins.
Hello, hello.
And she's just fantastic, and so I'm glad that you could be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so I wanted you to get a chance to let people know out there, students, just talk to them about music and as far as like you being a singer and working with guitar players, what you would suggest. But first, let's just get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
So first of all, we go back to high school, back in the day there.
Yes.
So that's how we know each other. We were singing together in choir. But I just wanted to ask you, how did you get into singing originally?
Originally, I have just always had a passion for music from a very, very young age. You know, I have home videos of myself and my brothers running around the house, with whatever we could find to try and make some music. So it's just always been a fun way to kind of pass time for me.
Cool. And one thing that's very unique is that you play bongos, because you just don't see a lot of singers up on stage singing and playing bongos, which is really nice. And so how did you get into playing that?
Well, one, as a musician, it's really important to find some way to stand out. So I really, like you said, I haven't seen any singer or bongo player, so that was my market there. And then, funny story, just growing up, my dad is also a musician, and he tried to kind of have my brothers and I have a little band, and I was interested in playing the drums. Mm-hmm. I told my mom, and she said, absolutely not.
Said, no way. As my mom also said. Well, she didn't say absolutely not. She said, play guitar first before you take it.
Just in case. So because of that, I said, what's the next best thing? The bongos. So I decided to play the bongos, and they're also very transportable. Yeah. So I can take them anywhere, and I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, it's definitely very unique and something I don't see often. It's really cool. But for all those who are, learning to play guitar and taking the lessons, and they're maybe dabbling in trying to play with other people, putting it in context of playing with bands or worship teams or whatever, what would be your advice or something you would say to people who are trying to play guitar with maybe a singer or...
Okay. One, practice. Also, don't forget about your voice. As a singer, I love to play with guitarists that can also sing, whether that be backup or hold their own leading a song. I mean, that really will just set you apart just automatically. Second thing, I would say work on tuning on your ear for your ear. As a singer, during a show, maybe I will want to change keys of a song right before. So there's no time to rehearse. Jairus can attest to this. And it's amazing that he is able to just switch keys, very quickly. So a way to help to do that, I would say, put on some fun songs that you like, and just pick up your guitar and try to find which key they're in, do some finger picking, and, see what you can come up with.
Yeah, that's really good. And I also mentioned, in the 20 lessons program, I really try and make sure and teach that, the idea of being able to hear the key, being able to play it. It's just, man, you use it all the time.
Yeah.
It makes things so quick for you when you're practicing, but if you can't do it, it just really slows it down, or maybe even a singer won't even want to play with you because you just can't do it. So that's really good. I'm glad you actually mentioned that. That's really cool.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Fanci. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, Jairus.
All right, we'll get on to the lesson. Well, let's go ahead and look at the chord chart. So make sure you pull that out. You got it printed out or it's on the screen. And as we look through our chord chart here, we see that the chords themselves is pretty simple, right? There's only 4 chords in this song, C, E minor, D, and G. And that the song map of it is pretty simple too. Got an intro chords, verse, chorus, little instrumental chords, bridge, double chorus with drums starting, and then just the regular chorus, and then you end on the instrumental. But it's pretty simple. Now, the thing that is the challenge, where you get to really learn in this song, right, is the muting. We're doing some more advanced muting with the chord shapes that we're using. And plus, we're going to learn some really cool rhythmic stuff that you haven't done before. So that's really where the challenge is of the song, not so much the chords themselves. Well, let's go ahead and look at the first chords. So let's look at these intro chords. We see that we have the C chord, E minor, D, and G. Those 4 chords, we repeat them again. So we do this twice. And this intro, this is the only time it occurs in the song, the way that we're going to do these chords. Okay? And so just like in the last song you learned with Open Skies, those chord shapes that you played during the verse of Open Skies, we're going to use those same chord shapes. So it is going to feel familiar, which is great. And then I'll teach you the new rhythm here, the strumming pattern to these chord shapes. But it's going to feel very familiar. So let's go ahead and learn how to make these chord shapes. So the C chord shape in this song is first finger, okay, on the 3rd fret of the A string, and we're in standard tuning. So it should sound like this. All right, now your first finger is going to mute 2 strings. It's going to mute your low E and mute your D. So I keep my first finger kind of flat or straight. It's not super curved up in the air. I just let it relax a little more, and it touches that low E and the D string. Make sure those are both muted nicely, but the A string is ringing out. Then the G string is open, and then I use my pinky just like in Open Skies. I use my pinky on the B string in the 5th fret. That's what it sounds like, and then I really make sure that pinky's nice and curved. And then my high E string is also open. So notice these are the same note. My 5th fret on the B and my open high E are the same notes. But really make sure that's curved up. You can use your 3rd finger, but I don't like to use it because it makes my fingers feel like they're spread out a little, and I would rather just use my pinky. I don't feel any spread at all happening here. It's just nice and relaxed. Plus it's a little smaller, of course, than my 3rd finger, so it's easier to clear out of the way for my high E. And if I play all 6 strings and everything's muted right, sounds like that. So my low E and D strings are muted here. Great. Now let's learn the rhythm. So the rhythm goes like this. The very first beat is actually a mute strum like this. So you're literally strumming the string, and as we've learned before, your hand just comes a little closer to the string, so it's actually touching them as your pick drags over them, and it makes this nice loud chick sound. And then we're immediately going to come up, but our hand comes off the strings, and it's just nice wide open strings here. Sounds like this. 1 E and a 2 E and a. So it might be a little odd for you to mute the very first beat, but that's what makes the song feel like the song made alive. So let's practice this. I'm going to play through this slowly 8 times, and I just want you to repeat it with me and get it down. So I'll count us off. 1, 2, ready, and 1, and a 2, and a 1. 4 more times. Click, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, click, up, down, up. Your hand's just bouncing, but you let it touch the strings. Very good. And we're just going to keep repeating that over. This pattern, this strumming pattern, is the same for the chorus as well. And so we'll be doing this a lot. Well, here we go. Let's learn the next chord shape. Now, the nice thing is the strings that our fingers are on, they don't change. We just slide them into a different place on different frets. So that makes it simple. So just slide from the 3rd and 5th fret on your C chord to 7 and 8 to create the E minor chord. The same strings are muted. Your low E and D strings are muted. Your 7th fret's ringing out, open G, 8th fret of the B with our pinkies being played, and high E is ringing out. Sounds like this. We do the same strumming pattern. Okay, let's do that strumming pattern a few times. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and click. Up, down, click. Last time. Good, and I'm just doing it multiple times to give you a chance to get it down. Let's go to our D chord shape. All we do is slide our fingers to 5 and 7. Boop, there it is, nice and easy. Was it E minor? Go to 5 and 7, same strings are muted. Sounds like this, and this is acting as our D chord. Let's do the strumming pattern on it a few times. 1, 2, ready, and down. And my first finger's just nice and straight. It's relaxed to allow me to mute all those strings. All right, and then last but not least is our G chord shape. We just slide this shape all the way up to 10 and 12. Sounds like that. And my first finger here, it's become even more just straight. It's even locked out a little bit here, just because of the placement. My thumb, of course, is staying up. I'm not pulling it to the side in any way. It's just here. I've pulled it down just a little bit where it might be out of sight of the camera. Okay. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1. 3 and 4 and 1. Great. All right, so pause it if you need to and learn those chord shapes, whichever ones you need the most work on. Make sure you got them because we're about to put it all together. So here it is. Let's start on our C chord shape here. Okay, and then we're just going, we're doing each one. And you repeat it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take it slow. Start on that C chord shape, and as you're sliding, as you're doing the sliding motion from one chord to the next, that's actually when you're muting. Notice, as I slide like this, notice how as soon as I'm done, I hit that. So during that muted note is when my hand slides. All right, 1, 2, ready, and mute. Up, down, mute. One more time. G chord, and G. I once was dead in sin. Then we're gonna go into verse 1. Verse 1 sounds like this. I once was dead in sin, alone and hopeless. So the rhythm, down, down, ba, 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 down, 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 down. So this part is very rhythmic, and in the original song, the bass is actually holding down this rhythm, while the guitar is just doing real simple stuff. It's just doing eighth notes, palm muting. So I will say that if this is a song you're wanting to very soon lead and sing and play at the same time, and maybe that rhythm part that we're about to learn is a little difficult, what you can do is just plug away on eighth notes. You can just go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, which is actually in the recording what the electric guitars are doing, because the bass itself is keeping the rhythm. But for a lot of people, they're not playing with a bass guitar, or they're not in a band necessarily, and so in order to create the rhythmic part, which is really that makes the verse sound like the verse, is that rhythmic part. So you want to learn it, and so that's what I'm going to teach you here. There's 2 levels to it: level 1, level 2. Level 1 is just really the tone. When we're playing a note that has tone, level 2 has all the little muted clicks in between that really give it that great feel that I think makes it the best it can sound. But let's go ahead and learn level 1. So before we jump into the nitty-gritty technical aspects of it, let's actually just learn to feel this rhythm. It sounds like this. Dun, 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 dun. It's like 2 quick notes, boom, boom, and then 3 slower ones. Dun, dun, boom, boom, boom. So I'm going to snap along. I want you to snap with me or tap along to this rhythm, and let's just feel it together. It sounds like this. 1, 2, ready, and 1. Down, 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 down. Let's do it a few more times. Keep getting it. A boom, boom, a bounce, 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 down, 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 down. And that's the feel of it. I want you to get that feel down, because if this feels a little challenging, or you're like, oh man, that's hard for me to get, I'm going to break it down slower in a minute. But I want you to go ahead and work on that feel. Now, let's actually play that rhythm with the notes that we're going to be using. We see C, E minor, and D. But on verse 1 in particular, we're only going to be playing a single note at a time. On the A string, playing C, C, E, 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 D, 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 D. So C and E minor are getting split up between a measure, a measure, and then D gets a whole measure to itself here. So the fret numbers are 3, 7, and 5. I'm also going to be palm muting. So I put the side of my palm here right on the saddle of my guitar, and that gives us that nice tone, that muted tone. And that's what we're going for in this part. Okay, let's see if we can play this just by feeling it first. 3, 3, 7, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And what we want to do is in between, like the two quick notes, you can let those ring out on top of each other, boom, boom, but then after they're done, you want to lift the pressure off to make it staccato, especially in the three longer notes. Dun, dun, dun. We want space in between them. We want it to feel like it's jumping, not holding out, not legato, but we want it staccato. Dun, dun. So let the pressure off. You don't take your finger all the way off the string. You just let the pressure off to stop the note. Okay, here we go. 3rd fret. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 3, 3, 7, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, 7, 7, 7, 5, 5. We're gonna do this a few times. 3, 3, 7, 7, 7. Bum, bum. Last time. Dum, 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 dum. Awesome. Well, if you got that down, if that's feeling good, you can go on to where we're learning level 2. But what I'm going to do real quick in between learning level 1 and level 2 is, if that was still feeling a little shaky, I'm going to slow it down even more, where I'm actually counting out the beats. So if that's you and you really need help on this, then you've got to count the beats yourselves, okay, and even pause it and work on that. But I'm gonna do it as an example that you can play along with right now. But I'm gonna be like 1 E and 2 E, and we're just gonna play those notes exactly over the beats where they occur. Okay, so you can see that the first two notes, it goes 1 E and 2, like that. We've got the arrows over 1 and 2. So let's try this. I'm gonna play through several times, really slow, counting it out. Play with me the first time. If you need to, start counting it with me and develop your sense of rhythm to this. 1, 2, ready, and go. And 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and nice. Well, once you get level 1 down, let's look at level 2. Level 2 is the way I like to play it because it just gives the most wonderful rhythmic sound to it. And it's really great if you have a bongo player, percussion player with you. It sounds like this. We're adding the muted notes in between the toned palm muted notes there. Yeah, so we're just adding those purely muted notes, and they show up as X's, you see, on the strumming pattern there. And our pick, okay, is just alternating. It's just going down, up, and it's perfectly synced to the beats, going down on the 1, up on E, down on and, up on up. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and perfectly synced. If you've got it synced up, then you can't go wrong. It's going to be making the right, or it's going to be going the right direction for the sound you're making. So it's down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 down. And I'm just thinking, it's as if my pick is just doing this. Notice, no stuttering of my pick. And that's how it's supposed to sound, except I'm not going to be muting every single beat, just the ones that are written here. So let's try that. Go ahead and see which beats you see the mutes happening on. The way we make those, of course, is we're palm muting, but then we let the pressure off with our chording hand here to create just a purely muted note, just a click. And so that's how we're starting out, just going down, up, and then boom, boom. We put the pressure back down to create the toned note. All right, we're going to keep repeating this several times. 1, 2, ready and play, and da da da. And as I'm changing notes, I keep my finger on the string even as I slide, and that lets me have that purely muted note right there. And there's level 2. Well, now we're going to play all of level 1 all together. I'm going to take it slow and I'm going to sing over it. I'm going to play level 2, but feel free to play level 1 if that's where you're at. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, ready and play. I once was dead in sin, alone and hopeless. A child of wrath, I walked, condemned in darkness. Don't. But your mercy brought new life, and in your love and kindness raised me up with Christ and made me righteous. 2. We have a 1-bar break and then boom, the chorus. So just a pure break, no music at all. And then we get to start a new strumming pattern. Well, for the chorus, the strumming pattern actually isn't new, but we learned it in the intro, right? But the chord shapes are different. And we've still got C, E minor, D, and G, but we're going to be playing sort of standard open chord shapes here. However, the one difference is, for this chorus, instead of playing a pure C chord like this, I actually play C over G because it just sounds like a bigger, meatier, fatter C chord, which I like. Okay, so the way I do that, you notice I just push my 3rd finger up to the low E and play the 3rd fret on the low E, and my pinky replaces where my 3rd finger was and plays the 3rd fret on the A. And then the other fingers stay the same, and there it is, and that sounds huge. And so while the rest of the band, like the keyboard player and the bass player, they could be playing a C chord, I'm going to be playing a C over G, and it's going to make it sound massive. Okay, E minor is just standard, right? Standard E minor, 2nd and 3rd fingers on 2nd frets of A and D. The rest of the strings are open, D, standard D chord. And then I'm going to be playing a G chord with my 3rd and pinky finger. Pinky stays on 3rd fret on high E, 3rd finger is on the 3rd fret of the low E, and muting the A string. So let's practice our strumming pattern here, make that C over G chord, and we're gonna mute it on the first beat, right? We're gonna go 1 and a 2, E and a 3. And we're just gonna be switching chords, just like this, like you hear me doing. Okay, so I'm going to take this slow and just practice it along with me, going between these 4 chords with that strumming pattern. 1, 2, ready, and 1. To D. Trying to get a purely muted strum there. More times. This C chord just sounds massive here. So that's our chorus. In verse 2, the rhythm part is the exact same as verse 1, so nothing new there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to using the chord shape, a similar chord shape to what we did in the intro. Our fingers that are going to be on the strings are going to be in the same exact spots, but what's different is the kind of muting we're doing. We're actually doing more muting this time. We're actually trying to mute every string except for the strings that our fingers are on. And so the way I do that is, let's make our C chord shape. First finger on the 3rd fret of the A, pinky on the 5th fret of the B. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let my first finger get even more relaxed. It's gonna be really flat. Okay, so it's muting my low E, it's playing the A, it's muting the D, and muting the G. So I'm really letting my first finger rest on the strings. And actually, my first finger is almost, or it is really, it's muting the high E as well. It's touching, it's just laying on the strings. My pinky, I'm gonna let relax as well, just as extra insurance, to mute the high E. And so when I strum all 6 strings, what happens is I only really hear these 2 strings ringing out, and all the rest are muted, right? We've got just clicks coming out of the other ones, not really any tone, and then these are actually sustaining my A and B strings. So this is what I mean by advanced muting here. We're really muting a lot of strings. And so this can feel funky. For those where this is new, you might accidentally be pressing down too hard. Some of the notes are like ringing out, or maybe you're not pressing down hard enough. And some of the notes are ringing out like as open strings. So you just have to figure out the sweet spot for your fingers and test each one of them to make sure that the ones that are supposed to be muted are actually muted. Okay, and once you get that down, then you're ready to go. Now before we put the rhythm to it, let's just go to the next chord shape. So slide up to your E minor chord shape, 7 and 8. Still the same strings are being muted. Okay, so it should sound like this. Only 2 notes are actually ringing out, all the rest are muted. And then from this E minor shape, I'll just keep going. We'll go to D, 5 and 7, same thing. Only 2 strings ringing out, but it makes it sound really chunky, right? Because as we're strumming it, there's all these clicks happening, so it sounds like it's just very loud, like just percussive, even as we're only hitting 2 strings. It sounds like a lot's coming out of the guitar. So we've got all those muted strings making us a quick sound, right? Click, a very quick click sound. And then our last chord, G, go up to 10 and 12. And here's what it sounds like when we put it together. Well, now let's put it all together. So you could play level 1 or level 2 of the verse, right? In level 2, it's still staccato, right? Except now we're doing a full strum, but to create that muted sound, again, I'm just letting the pressure off my fingers, and that will, since they're already muting all the other strings, when you let the pressure off, all 6 strings are then muted, and that allows you to. As long as you keep your hand bouncing and synced up to the beats, it's gonna work great. Well, let's play it together. 1, 2, ready, and Lord, you are the light that broke the darkness. You satisfy my soul when I am heartless. And if ever I forget my true identity, show me who I am and tell me to believe you. Very good. Now on that last part, what I like to do is build it, and I actually let, I sort of go back to, you know, the very beginning of our song with the intro, and I let those strings ring out again. You have bought So I let it be dramatic there. So that's how we're going to end verse 2. And the chorus after verse 2 is exactly the same as chorus 1. The instrumental part after the second chorus is still exactly the same as the chorus. It's the same progression, same strumming pattern, everything. Just instead of singing the chorus, we go, ho, right? We do this progression twice. And then we go to the bridge. And the bridge is actually different, it sounds nice and quiet. My sin has been erased. Just a single strum. 2, 3. I'll never be the same. I'm still playing my C over G chord as a substitute for just regular C, but my D chord is different here. I want it to be more complex here since it's softer and more delicate. So I'm doing my D add 4 add 9 chord, which is just a regular C chord slid up to the, with your third finger on the 5th fret, so it's 5, 4, open, 3rd fret, and then open there. That's all it is, from C up to here. It's called D add 4, add 9. And so this is pretty simple. Let's play the bridge together, just single strums for each one. 1, 2, ready, and my sin has been erased, and 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll never be the same. One more time, ready? And my sin has been erased. 1, 2, 3. I'll never be the same. And you can build here. You have bought, and then we start the chorus again, but with drums. So you can build that last, build that last one. 1, 2. You have bought. And then the chorus after is drums only. Right, so we do that build, then it's drums, and if you don't have a drummer with you, of course, if it's just you and you really want to make this cool percussive sound, you can make it on your guitar strings, right? You just put all your fingers on the strings, don't press down anything, and then you've just got all these nice muted strings to create percussion sounds. And what I do is I just strum all 16th notes, but I don't just do them straight where it sounds like a robot's playing it. I accent some beats, so it's like a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. So I accent on the 2, the after the 2, which is an up, and then the 4. I go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. It just seems to feel right, and it works with the singing over it. So I'm going to play that nice and slow with those accents on those beats. And play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2 E and a 3 E and so the is an up, right? 1 E and a 2 E and up. 4. One more time. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and then you can just speed that up, and then that becomes the chorus with the drums only part. Well, at the end of that drums only part, what I like to do to get me back, you have bought, I like to build on the D chord, so I just make that D chord shape again, and I let the high E and the G string be open, so it's got that sort of droning. You have bought me back. So I just build that right before. And I just cut them off, cut the notes off. You have bought, and then I do the 1, right, the muted first beat of the chorus, and jump right into the chorus again. Do the instrumental twice this time. Go through it 2 times, and then you just end on I like to end on a C over G chord, and that's the song. Well, now let's put all the parts together. I'm gonna do a slow tempo version of the song, do the whole thing. And then, of course, once you get that down, you can go to the full version song with Fanci playing along with me. But let's do it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. I once was dead in sin, alone and hopeless. A child of wrath I walked, condemned in darkness. But your mercy brought new life, and in your love and kindness raised me up with Christ and made me righteous. 1, 2, 3. You have bought me back with the riches of your amazing grace and relentless love. I'm made alive forever with you, life forever by your grace. I'm saved. Lord, you are the light that broke the darkness. You satisfied my soul when I am heartless. And if ever I forget my true identity, show me who I am and tell me to believe. You have bought me back in the riches of your amazing grace and relentless love. I'm made alive forever with you, life forever by your grace. I'm saved. Oh! My sin has been erased. 2, 3, 4. I'll never be the same. 2, 3, 4. My sin has been erased. 2, 3. I'll never be the same. You have bought me back with the riches of your amazing grace and relentless love. I'm made alive forever with you, life forever by your grace. I'm saved. You have bought me back with the riches of your amazing grace and relentless love. I'm made alive forever with you, life forever by your grace. I'm saved.
And there it is. I hope you really enjoyed the song Made Alive, learning the more advanced muting and rhythmic parts. So I can't wait for the next one. Enjoy your practice.